love that music. I love it. When I
I do
actually,
too.
it doesn't even matter. I could go to bed and I hear that music. That's like my walk-up song.
Yeah.
Welcome to the BAP, Mental Health and Addiction Podcast. Uh,
Yeehaw.
yeah, we started.
Yeah.
Hi, we started this discussion and the show around ending the stigma of mental health and addiction that's affecting 1 in 4 Americans. This is actually our 66th show, Mario Lemieux territory now. And yeah, there you go. Joining me as always is Willie Drinkwater. Who are you?
Who am I? Who are you? By the who? And so, by the way, before we start, May is Mental Health Awareness Month too. I hope everyone knows that
I'm
stuff. So
aware.
There's a lot of good articles out there too.
I know. There's been a ton all over the place. I am Willie Drinkwater. I'm an addiction therapist that works with co-occurring disorders, and in other words, other mental health issues. I have a private practice. I'm an educator for UMass Boston in the Addiction Counseling Education Program. I'm a person in long-term recovery. God, 35 years now. So, and it's just a day at a time. That's all I've got. I don't do old timer meetings ever because it's like I don't want my ego to get involved in the process again. So, because I've only been sober since I got up this morning. That's how I view things.
That's it.
I've only been
Wow.
sober since I got up today.
That's a different point of view.
I learned that from a mentor of mine. I have a woman mentor in the field who actually, she got into AA when she was like 17 years old, and she was the only woman, and it was mainly older men at that point in time. And she's been in AA for 55 years now and stuff. I mean, amazing and stuff.
Wow.
So, but she was the one that I took that lead from, where she wouldn't do old timer meetings and stuff because she said, I never want my ego to get involved with this, and I've only been sober since I got up this morning. So
I like that.
What other, where'd you come from before that?
Oh, before that, probably the most fun I ever had in the comedy scene. I was a stand-up comic, but in the middle '80s, '82 through '86, I was a member of the Not Before Breakfast Big Mattress Players at WBCN under Charles Lockwood, the Big Mattress Crew. The days when Billy West was there, the voice extraordinaire. So,
Ren and Stimpy. Thank you for that intro. And Chris,
yeah.
who are you? Who are you, Chris?
Who am I? Well, today I'm still Chris Perry Long, and I got into this because I have 5 kids. My oldest 2 are in recovery now, but I ran around for a few years trying to fix my kids. I've worked in the industry for probably about 10 years now.
You work in an awesome organization now.
I do work in an awesome organization now. I used to do marketing, which was a lot of fun, but a miserable job. And now I am a family educator for Aware Recovery Care, which is a 52-week in-home addiction treatment program. Started in Connecticut 11 years ago, came to Massachusetts this past August, I think. Opened in September.
You love it. You love working for them.
It's the best.
Yeah, no, we can definitely. I mean, you just radiate when you're talking about the program too.
It's just, like the biggest thing we've always talked about, right, is when people get out of treatment, they get the business cards, call the therapist, call this, and of course, they come out and they're gung ho, and then they get back into the same routine, and it just recycles. What Aware does is we meet our clients where they're at. And
you don't leave them there. So,
we don't leave them there. We're not punitive. And I have to say, so I've been with the company since August and working with the same family client from August until now, watching the progress. It's so amazing. Like the recovery, it's so solid. It's not forced. It's like, so, you have a reoccurrence, you get up and you start again. And it's, and it's just a big difference. It's good. It's really good. Yeah. I'm very, very happy.
I know. It's good stuff.
I'm trying to charge my computer here because got unplugged. Anyway, my name is Andy Bernstein. Oh, you hear that? I have become very passionate about this subject of mental health and addiction, and having worked in media for a long time, I wanted to use my experience to really help this cause through working on this show with with Chris and Willie. So we are going to talk about a topic today, but I'm going to charge my computer first. So hold tight. And then okay.
What do you have, an Apple?
Yeah, and you know those batteries go like
No.
like there's no business. Okay, so it still says it's not charging. Okay, so
Are we going to lose you in the middle of this podcast or what, man?
I know. We're going to talk about
10%, 8%. Yeah.
Oh, I know, and I don't want to lose my battery. So we're going to talk about a topic today that does not get its due, and that's male depression, which I'm getting depressed right now about.
Because you can't plug that in. I mean, the big thing, is men have a difficult time talking about any feelings whatsoever and stuff. And depression, a lot of times, it isn't even seen, because what happens is that, those familiar with 12-step programs and stuff, you probably heard the expression, the dry drunk.
Right.
Nothing's right. Everything's horrible. It's never going to change. Well, really, when when I stop and look at it, more often than not, when people are in the dry drunk, that's a sign of depression. Men with depression, a lot of times it comes out as agitation. Nothing's right. I'm fine. Leave me alone. I'm okay. And it gets overlooked, and it's like no one wants to be around that person. You're basically like, okay, you do what you want to do, and stuff. But so it isn't often diagnosed. I mean, last week I was at the 2-day conference, the McLean conference, and one of the presenters there, was talking and saying, well, it's generally known that more women than men suffer from depression and anxiety. And it's like, no, it's like more women than men. More women than men talk about depression and anxiety. Guys don't talk about it and stuff. It was like for years too, we often heard more men than women are suffer from alcoholism. And it's like, no, more men than women report it. It was so much more of a stigma for a woman to be an alcoholic than for a man. A man, it was, oh, boys are being boys and they're just playing. But if a woman was, it was viewed in a totally different way. Would have comments about the women that hung out at the bars and stuff, but it wasn't viewed the same way, and a woman, rather than going to detox, wouldn't say anything, and she'd end up going into the DTs at home and dying, so, when the numbers are actually, pretty much the same for men and women as far as alcoholism goes. I mean, even the first big book of AA, I mean, how many women's stories were in it? One. There was one woman's story. The latest edition out now, I mean, they were really mindful is that, half the stories are men and half the stories are about women, and stuff. And, and that's why there's always been more. What's that, Chris?
I think men have a more difficult time about being open with their emotions because
it's a weakness.
It's a weakness. It shows weakness, right?
It's society's. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like I've failed. I can't be depressed because I'm supposed to be the breadwinner and I'm supposed to protect my family. And how can I have anything wrong? And plus, I mean, it goes back to that old, God, years ago when like my marriage was like a mess because of addiction, because I was running around trying to fix my kids. Yeah. I wanted to go to marriage counseling because I thought there was a problem in our marriage, right? And my husband was like, absolutely not. I'm not talking to a head shrinker.
Yeah, head shrinker.
Right? Like, the whole pride thing goes into that.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the instances I always think about is that I was doing a group when I was in the partial program at Arbor and stuff, and there was a guy in there, who he'd been in like documented 60 detoxes plus, right? And I'm doing a group, and I was, talking about depression and anxiety and stuff, and he was pretty much, arm over the back of the chair, poo-pawing it all and stuff, and he said, and he made the mistake to say in the group, he said, well, the only thing that works for me is AA. And I said, yeah, and that's why you've been in 60 detoxes, because the only thing that works for you is AA. And he got all mad, and he went to the director after the group, and he said, that guy's in, such and such, you should fire him and stuff. I can't believe that he said, he called that out in the middle of group. And I was doing another group on depression the next day, and he went to the director and said, I don't want to go to that group. And the director was like, you don't go to that group, you can't stay in the free care dorm. And he was all ticked off. And I'm doing the group on strictly on depression the next day, and I was going through it, point by point, the signs and symptoms, and talking about the dry drunk thing and this and that. And and then it was like after the group, he came up to me and he goes to me, yeah, so maybe you're not a hole, maybe you're not an asshole. I'm going to say it anyway, because, he finally realized that, probably for years, what set him up to keep going back out was depression and stuff. But,
so let me interject. It's funny. I see my neighbor's quintessential. He is OCD. He is.
I know the quintessentials, right? Aren't they from aren't they from Portugal? The quintessential family?
No.
Oh, sorry, different family. Okay.
No, they're French Canadian. So
yeah.
So this guy lost his wife. He is drinking every night, drinking and smoking weed every night of the week. He's 65 years old. We've talked to him about getting grief counseling. We've talked to him because he calls us, and he's like, "Well, I have you guys to talk to." I'm like, "Listen, we're not trained therapists. You're gonna have to go." Well, I'm not built that way, he says, right? And I can't just go talk about my problems with somebody. And I would bet that that's a very telling theme. And as a matter of fact, to that point,
it's more common than not, too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what they're saying. The more masculine you are, the more, the worse it gets.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I can interject here, too, is, I have a guy I'm working with who's been through, God, I don't know how many detoxes over the years and stuff. And I'm talking to the insurance company, and they're saying, oh, so you're going to put down, alcoholism as the primary. And I said, no. And they go, well, what do you mean? The guy's been in and out of treatment centers for years and years and years now. I said, I'm putting down complicated bereavement. And they go, complicated bereavement? What are you talking about? I said, exactly. No one ever looked at his whole picture. He had a parent who was killed in one of the Twin Towers on 9/11, when he was young, and he's never dealt with that. That to me is the primary, the in and out of the detoxes and everything else. This guy's been trying to self-medicate that away for years.
Of the real problem.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we have? Okay, so I say this all the time. How many times do we put people into detox, right? And we put them into treatment, and we get rid of the substance use, and it's 14, 21 days if they're lucky, maybe 30 days, and you just sort of start to see the mental health stuff surface.
Right.
The problems are still there.
The problems are still there. But what we do, like I said in the beginning, is we hand them a business card and say, okay, go to this therapist, and it's recommended. But nobody ever follows through because men won't follow through. They got to get.
Well, Vicki Kelly, who has a TED Talk, on trauma-informed care, she said, one of the big issues the problems that we always have, and you really get it with men, is that the people that need the help, the people that could benefit from the help the most are the most resistant to getting the help.
Sure, because these guys are, it's like, and I've always been that way myself. It's just like, suck it up. Like, just keep
pick yourself up by the bootstraps, one of those deals.
Yeah, just keep going. And actually, so there's some interesting statistics about it. They're saying that American Foundation for Suicide Prevention said men died by suicide at 3.56 times the rate of women in 2018. Yet more women are twice as likely to be diagnosed with depression than men. Right. And you always say that as well. That's really one of your points, is that men won't talk about it. They'll just take their lives.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the national suicide stats, when you look at it and stuff too, first attempt, one out of 3 women will complete the first time. Men, it's 2 out of 3 complete the first time. And men more so than women tend to go, gun hanging. They go, full bore and stuff. So,
and you would be like, oh,
I mean, talk about suicide. Hold on, talk about suicide, right? The rate. They just didn't. I caught the brief end of it last night when I was falling asleep. They were saying that the stats for children 10 to 14 is higher right now than post-COVID.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
they're saying that 10 to 14-year-olds. Now look at that girl in Holliston, right?
Yeah.
They're saying that the coroner is saying that it was a suicide, and the mom's not settling for a suicide. I mean, come on, what parent wants to think that their child committed suicide? They're exposing all the mental health stuff that happened previously in bits and pieces, the media is. So, again, we assume, oh, this kid was in DCF, she hit her mom, all this stuff that so why wouldn't it be suicide? Because there was the fight, and it's like, but they're saying 10 to 14.
But it's a different play for men more so than women, because for men, being over 50, right? Willie, we talked about this. Being over 50, you start to question, the male ego is different than the woman's ego, or women, where the male ego is like, I don't know, do women even have egos?
Yes.
I don't know like that.
Everybody has an ego,
Right,
everybody
you
has
always hear the male ego. You never hear, oh, she has a big ego. I never hear that.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
No.
So
they may, but you usually hear it referred to a man.
that's what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
So for the male ego, it's like we look at our lives and we start to say, okay, have I made it's like, have I made enough money? Am I successful? All these things. Have I wasted time? Start thinking, like, all these things start to.
Yeah, I mean, a danger time I've found too is like, and I've seen it with people I've worked with. I've seen it with friends when I was raising my family and stuff. And like you have kids, and you and your wife, you're raising the kids, and it's like everything's about them and the couple. They're not doing the date nights or anything else. And then, the kids grow up and they go to college, and then they find jobs and they move out and they're on their own. And that's usually when the divorce comes, or you can have a suicide come too. Right. I had a guy that I used to coach baseball with, and, his last child was leaving the house and stuff. And it was like 2 weeks before Christmas, and his wife found him in the garage. He had hung himself, and stuff. And it was like, that empty nest thing. All of a sudden, you're looking at your partner, and it's like, who are you? I don't even know you, because everything was the kids.
Right. So then, okay.
Well,
so
I think,
go ahead, Chris.
I think also you get to a point, like you get to an age where you're like, oh, well, why bother? It's not going to, my life is, more than half over, and it's not going to matter anyway. And that's when they turn to alcohol or substances to keep numbing that pain, keep suppressing that pain. It's, again, like I would say that most of our substance use problems are not necessarily substance use. I would say it is a symptom of the problem.
It's what I talk about, when I'm doing the co-occurring course, Chris, too. Like the third conundrum is, the primary is psychiatric and the secondary is substance abuse, and the big three I always find, people that are going into detox over and over again, I refer to as the trifecta: trauma, grief, abandonment issues that never got addressed. And a lot of it goes right back to family of origin, and
So what do we do? Because insurance isn't allowing us to recognize the mental health. And furthermore, there's not enough treatment centers. We'll stick to Massachusetts. In the state of Massachusetts, they say they can do co-occurring, but they're not really dealing with co-occurring. They're giving you the magic pill, or they're giving you the business card to go and meet up with the psych doctor.
That's one of the things I'm a big advocate, and you probably know about SAMHSA years ago. They put out a grant that the state of Connecticut picked it up and Louisiana picked it up, where they combine their mental health and their addiction services. So for continuity of care. But Massachusetts is tough. You've got DMH, mental health, DPH does addiction. And it's like they don't like playing in the same sandbox, and they're both protecting their own budgets. And it's like, to try to bring up that SAMHSA program to them, they're just going to laugh at you. Each group has powerful lobbies that are at the state house, fighting for mental health, fighting for addiction, but no one's talking about fighting for co-occurring, for integrated treatment. Yeah.
So let's jump in. As far as, okay, so what are the signs to look for, right? If, we know it's a problem, and there are signs based off of the um, an article that we
Yeah.
had. Yeah, that Mike could
Yeah,
probably.
with men in particular and stuff too, if they've been active with buddies and stuff, and all of a sudden they're starting to isolate, or their drinking is starting to take off more, or there's a constant state of agitation. Men, it really comes out with an agitated state. It's like they're trying to fight their way through their feelings and stuff, trying to fight their way out of the depression, and all they become is more exhausted and much more miserable.
That's why I don't watch hockey. I can't watch hockey, playoff hockey. I love hockey. Right? Can't watch it. I watch it in.
Last night's game was
I watched it,
crazy.
I like the Penguins, right? But and the Bruins, but I keep it at an arm's length because for me, I get real agitated watching.
Did you know the number one sport for heart attacks during like TV games is playoff NHL hockey? It's the
Shut
number
up,
one.
really?
No, it's the
Horrible.
number. It's the number one. People keeling over with heart attacks
I can't
is
watch
hockey.
it. I literally
Playoff
a
hockey.
couple of years ago, I was watching. Quick aside, I was watching it. The Penguins were playing Ottawa, and it went into double. It went into overtime. I think it went into double overtime, and the Penguins had tied the game, and Chris Kunitz won it for the Penguins in and it was like I had to turn the game off, right? And then I even journaled, why does hockey drive me so crazy? I literally had to write this down because I was getting freaking
So
nuts.
unpredictable.
It's crazy. So okay, so they're saying that that's escapist behavior. So if you're spending a lot of time at work or sports, that could be a sign. They're talking physical symptoms such as headaches, digestive problems, and pain. And again,
Hypertension. Yeah.
yep, sad, hopelessness, or empty. Feel extremely tired.
Yeah.
Have difficulty.
Well, that's one of the things. Just to pause you there,
Yeah.
that's a big one that comes up clinically when I'm working with guys and stuff too. Is tired can also be a code word for depression. I'm just
Yeah.
tired. It's like, well, you told me you're sleeping 8 to 10 hours a night, but you're always tired. Have you had a complete physical? Yeah, I had a physical recently. How was your blood work? Yeah, the blood work was good. It's like, are you tired or are you depressed?
Yeah, I mean, that's difficulty sleeping or sleeping too much, not
Yeah.
getting pleasure from activities usually enjoyed.
Yeah.
Other behaviors in men that could be signs of depression but not recognized. So we talked about the physical symptoms, obviously problems with alcohol and drug use,
Yeah.
controlling violent or abusive behavior, irritability or inappropriate anger, risky behaviors such as reckless driving,
Yeah.
because these behaviors could be a signs of or might overlap with other mental health issues such as so obviously you would want to get treatment. So but undiagnosed it's a big problem.
Yeah.
And so
And again, anyone coming out of a detox, there's going to be a period of time when you come out of the detox, you're going to be experiencing depression and anxiety. It's part of the price of travel. That doesn't mean you have to medicate everybody out. It depends. And was there a history before substances of depression and anxiety? And a lot of times we don't know that and stuff where the patient isn't a good historian or they've been in and out of treatment facilities so much that you haven't given their brain a chance to clear over 1 to 3 months. And that 1 to 3 months period is where they really need to be followed by someone that knows addiction and mental health. To see if you're starting to see signs and symptoms of a pervasiveness of depression or anxiety, or maybe something else too. Chris.
Right. And the other thing that we don't take into consideration too is how bad was their alcohol and drug run behavior? Because what does it do to your body? So your dopamine and your serotonin levels are depleted, right? They're so deficient. And what is your dopamine and your serotonin? Serotonin is like your regulatory. It helps with
that's your feel good across the board. Yeah.
Right. But it also helps with aggression. It helps with compulsiveness, right? And the dopamine is you're happy, right? It gives you that feeling inside. And when you're deficient, that's why people use drugs and alcohol, because it gives you that artificial feeling. So,
Boost.
Right, it gives you the boost. So when you have somebody that just comes out of detox or just out of treatment and their body is still rebuilding, they still have that flatline emotion sometimes, depending upon how much they have used in their bodies. So, you know, like one of the things that I always say is like eating healthy is so important. It's such an important part of recovery and early
Absolutely.
recovery. So
Absolutely.
nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Doing things that actually make you feel good naturally. Going
Yeah.
for a hike, planting a garden, doing those types of things. Start to
Yeah.
reboot
Yeah.
your body the right
I
way,
try to suggest that they
natural
get
way.
into a walking
And we do.
program. Yeah. Walking programs.
Yeah.
Start out
right?
easy.
Walking,
Start out
running,
easy.
going to the gym.
I
Yep.
find that for me, you know, because I battle, I'll have like 2 days where I'm like, I get depressed, and then I shake myself, I get myself out of it by like self-talk.
That's why you don't call me.
No, you're always busy. You're always like, I got very,
Yeah,
very,
and your voicemail is always full. So
very,
yeah,
very
okay,
busy.
yeah.
Well, I'm a big Hollywood producer now. Okay. Um, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm
But
not. Your voicemail is always full.
I know I'll have
Hi,
to,
this is Randy
clear it up.
Bernstein. Please leave me a message. We're sorry. The
Your
voicemail can no
voicemail is
longer
full.
take messages.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
need to take. I don't need to take this abuse.
Love you, Randy.
I love you. But I really think like I have a group of friends and Willie and Chris, but you know, like from guys, you know, like who I can talk to, right?
Yeah.
That's real, right? Like so, I've been on this quest for real. Like I have no time for
Well,
people.
I think that's part of why most of my friends over the years, my closest friends, have been women, because you can talk
Exactly.
about emotion, you can talk about feelings, you know. So
Yeah, it's
Right.
like I don't want to talk about like I have no time for like surface stuff. Like I can't do it because I know everybody, you know, it's like that old stick song, The Grand Illusion, right? Where you see everybody like, you know, the guy next door and he's got all this and it's like it's not real, man. It's
yeah,
just not. And
yeah,
even if it is real, it's like it's fleeting because money doesn't make you happy and and cars don't make you happy and all that
no,
stuff.
no, you just rent it. You just rent your happiness, and
Right,
then
it's
you know.
really inside, and it's not a euphoric, and happiness is not euphoric. It's not. It's like you
Yeah,
know, just a sense of like I'm not, you know,
It's
just
temporary.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's not like oh my God, this happened, so you know I'm giddy, right? It's just kind of like being, right? Don't you think? It's like just being comfortable in your own skin, in your own
But
head.
that goes back to like a control, right? We all so the biggest thing is, you know, in when somebody wants to get wants to stop using, right? They have to make that decision. We can't make that decision for them.
No.
If somebody is like visually and clinically depressed, right? We can't fix them. We can only hope that we can guide them to the right in the right direction to help them.
Yeah.
Willie, what else can we do? I mean, if
Yeah, I
it's
mean
really bad,
that's
obviously
what.
we can do a
Yeah,
section
that.
12,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
doesn't.
I mean, that's for crisis intervention, is Section 12. But you know, I say to everybody, I don't have your answers. You have your answers. I'm just trying to help you to get to your answers. If you need education or information to come up with an answer, yeah, I can do that too. But there are no super therapists. There are no super counselors. You know, if you get a therapist or a counselor who tells you you have to do something, you have to do this, this, and this, don't be afraid to question as to why. You know, well, if that's what worked for me. Well, great. So you're not even hearing my story. You're just going by your own story. That's going to automatically. And if I break out, then you'll say, well, you didn't do it the way I laid it out. It's like, yeah, but I've got trauma issues and you don't. And you didn't give me anything, you know, of what I was supposed to do with the flashbacks or anything. So
I'm
you
going to
know.
tell you a quick story. We're only doing a half hour today, but we'll be back for our full hour next week. But I did want to tell a story. So my cousin has been struggling with alcohol, gambling, and sex addiction for a very long time.
It's got a trifecta going. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's good times. And his girlfriend, or the woman he's with, died of a fentanyl overdose, and he's been home, and that was in March of 2019. So he's basically been home, or 2020. Wait,
It was
when
last
did
year.
it start? Yeah.
think it was last year.
His
No, it could have been.
transformation has been unbelievable. After that wake up call, seeing that person die who he was close to, he quit smoking pot. He stopped gambling. He just recently started quitting smoking after, so he's like 4 weeks in.
Yeah.
He doesn't, he's ended relationships that aren't good. I mean, he's really transformed. But the thing is, he's been in and out of rehabs. He was in Malibu. He was in all these places. And the reality is he wanted it himself.
Right.
He
Right.
started to identify, like, my daughter's really important to me. I want to be a great parent. So I want to be present with my daughter.
Yeah.
So he spends that time doing that. He's buying another, or, he rents a townhouse. He's buying a house, right? Like he's really come a long way. And I think a lot of it is just, he's been doing time in the hole, which I think everybody has to do, where you kind of figure out where you're going, what you're doing. And he's really like just made a complete difference. And he's used the COVID as a time to really work on himself.
Yeah, I think the COVID too for many people is, for some people it was a beneficial time of self-reflection. It's like, this is, all of a sudden their life has stopped, and it's like, okay, do I want to continue to do what I have been doing for work? What do I really want to do with my life? But other people got thrown in an existential crisis. They were working all the time and they never really thought about what they wanted, what's their meaning or purpose in life. It was like, a visit by Rollo May and Viktor Frankl all the same time. It's like, who am I? What am I doing here? Oh my God, how much more time do I have left on the earth? I joke around with you all the time, Andy, when I say I'm at my midlife, and I'm 65, my kids are like, you're going to live to be 130. I said, yeah, absolutely. You can put my brain on top of a clone and let's go from there. But it's like, I don't look at age, I really, really don't. I mean, you have to, with some things. I mean, I had to get a Medicare card, which really bummed me out, man. I was like, what? I got to register even though I've got insurance through my wife's job. But, it's like, yeah, a lot of people are, they're taking that step back and, they're having an existential crisis where, anxiety, and it throws them right into depression.
Guys, do you think we should definitely continue this talk?
Yeah, we can make it, for men and for women the next time, which we sort of did this time too. But yeah, more
if
so.
you need help, right? If you're struggling with,
I thought you were talking to me.
if you're talking,
I've got a therapist. Thanks.
you're talking with someone. You're thinking about taking your own life, or your or a loved one.
Samaritan.
What's that? Yeah,
Good Samaritan.
The Samaritans are great if you're local.
Yeah. There's also the BSAS. There's the helpline too, which you can get some resources
211, right? Is it
1-800-273-TALK.
What was that?
This is the National Suicide Hotline, Prevention Hotline, which is 1-800-273-TALK.
Yeah.
And that's 1-800-273-TALK. And give them a call. And, but it's okay. Like I've been hearing, it's okay not to be okay. So,
Oh, absolutely.
so
Absolutely okay to not be okay.
So that's our show for the week. And sorry to cut everybody short, but that's our show for the week. And
He's got to go get his toenails trimmed.
that's right. I got to get a manicure, a sport manicure.
What's a sport manicure?
Another difference. It's just, it sounds better. I'm not.
Oh, I forgot we're coming up to Speedo weather, so you need that special trim, huh?
He needs to go see the
All right,
Brazilian.
on that note, that's our show for the week. All right,
Little black Speedo.
black Speedo.
Oh, you gotta get the little black Speedo with the Brazilian wax, right? Is that what you're doing today?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Don't send me pictures. Don't send me pictures.
Oh, it'll be all over Instagram. All right. On that note, have a great week, everybody. Thanks to Mike Weber and the fine folks at Foxboro Cable Access. You've been listening and watching The Map. See you next week.
TBC, to be continued.
That's right. Goodbye, everybody.